also followed up and said in verse 28, then they what? Cried to the Lord in their trouble. The people that was in the storm, guess what they did? Cried to the Lord in their trouble. And guess what happened? Come on, y'all, it's the same thing. He delivered them from their storm. He made the storm be still, and the waves of the sea were hushed. Then they were glad that the waters were quiet. Watch this. And then look at verse 31. When God has delivered you from something, you ought to thank God. Verse 31 says what? Let them thank the Lord for his steadfast love, for his mercy towards the children of man. Well, if you read the Bible like I read it, if you read the text like I read it, and you understood what you was reading, you would have found out that when people were lost, in verses 4 through 6, they did something. They cried to the Lord and he delivered them out of trouble, and then they thanked the Lord. If you would have kept reading and got to verses 10 through 13, when people were in dark places, you would have saw that they did something, that they cried out to the Lord and he delivered them from their troubles, and then they did something else. They thanked the Lord. If you would have kept on reading verses 17 through 20, when people were being fools, they did something. They cried out to the Lord, he delivered them, and then they did something else. They began to thank the Lord for his steadfast love. But it doesn't stop there. If you would have been paying attention and not sleep, you would have saw that when people were in a storm and they didn't know what else they was going to do, they did something. They cried to the Lord, he delivered them out of their trouble, but then they did something else. And then they thanked God for what he had done. I think that's the recipe. When you are in tight places, when you lost, not figuring things out, when you are wandering around in dark places, when you're out being a fool, when you are in a storm, we ought to do something. As the church body, we ought to cry out to the Lord. And I'm so glad that God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, Lord. For the same God that delivered the children of Israel out of Egypt is the same God that delivered you in 2024. The same God that allowed a way to be made out of no way is the same God that will make a way in 2024. The same God that delivered you from dark places back then is the same God that will deliver you from dark places today. The same God that brought you out of Egypt and being a fool back then is the same God that will keep you being a fool right now. The same God that delivered people out of storms in the Old Testament and the New Testament. Oh, thanks be to God. And the same God that will deliver you out of your storm right now. Do I have a witness in here? Is there anybody that knows that God will keep his commandments? You ask what's the recipe for us building this church back up? Tell somebody that God is still a miracle worker. Tell somebody that God is still providing. I thank God for the new families that have joined us the last couple of months, because I know that God is still in the miracle working business. Somebody felt like giving up on life, they called out to God. Somebody felt like throwing in the towel, they called out to God. Is there anybody here? Let's stand to our feet.
What a word.